You might not recognize me, but I am actually Joey Only Caribou Weather Dude. Got a bit of a haircut finally. Finally. I've had this shag mop growing on my head for quite a while. And what happened was, I used to always go to Joe's barbershop in Quesnel. And the one day I show up there, and everyone in Quesnel knows that Joe's not there, and no one really knows why still. I walk in, here's these strange guys, and they're like, I'm like, where's Joe? And they're like, we'll cut your hair. Where's Joe? And he's like, he's on vacation, they said. And I was like, oh. And I sat down for a minute and then thought, on vacation? That sounds fishy. And I was like, I don't know these fucking guys. I got up and left. So my hair just kept growing for months after. Finally got a haircut tonight. Anyways, here to give you a bit of a Thanksgiving forecast. I'm going to guarantee British Columbia, about at least half the weekend of very nice weather. Okay, things are getting better and better. We got major solar flares that have been popping off, so we should get a very good Northern Lights show on Thursday night. Finally clear skies for everybody. I know a lot of you did see the last show, but I sure didn't. It was raining and cloudy and crappy here in the Caribou Mountains, so I'm really looking forward to the chance of maybe being able to see a proper Northern Lights show for sure. Hurricane is making its way through Florida right now. It's down to a Category 1 status. It's approaching midnight when I'm making this late night episode tonight for you. But it's been all we've been looking at and talking about, all us weather geeks that are kind of in my circle. And now I can finally look forward and just start to look at what could be the bad news for British Columbia and beyond. Yeah, half the weekend of good weather at least. Okay, let's go. Bad news show. There it is. This is bad news.
My God.
Falling out right now.
Anything can happen.
Get on!
Wow. I'll watch the video later.
Ain't dry mopping this.
This forecast is brought to you by Wildfires, Floods, and Chaos Communications Podcast. Management of Issues, Crises, and Disasters. Second season has premiered. It's now available on their site. That's communicationspodcast.ca, communicationspodcast.ca, and also available all these places right down here, Amazon Music and blah, 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 Spotify, you got it, right? Tim Conrad and his crew, they are communications officers, often for things like major fires and floods in British Columbia. They have lots of interesting insight, lots of interviews with people who are involved in different levels of preparation and disaster management. Do check out communicationspodcast.ca. Okay, let's go. Here's more or less where things stand as we're about to start the 10th of October. You can see Hurricane Milton is currently making its way through Florida at Category 1 status right now, weakening and moving on through. Bands of thunderstorms out in front of it. These larger thunderstorms in the secondary low seem to want to be pulling it and tugging it out to sea. Should take a pretty eastward course following that. Meanwhile, in behind is some pretty high pressure through Ontario, even through a lot of the American West and South, and even down to Mexico. This high pressure is keeping things pretty clear right now and is fairly stable. But if you go over towards the maritime provinces, got a little bit of lightning and small thunderstorm activity going on south of Nova Scotia. That low, somewhat weakened, has itself wrapped up and around its flank, giving some precipitation probably through eastern parts of Newfoundland and up into Labrador. A little bit of unsettled weather through Quebec as well. Stronger low up in Nunavut. This Nunavut low bringing a little bit of precipitation into the Northwest Territories. Also seeing a little bit of that wrapping down through, say, Churchill, Manitoba, nearby there. Low pressure more or less down through that stretch of Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and down towards Montana. Some scattered showers, maybe the odd lightning strike still going on in there, but mostly a rain event. We do have here in the Caribou at this hour. We just had kind of a downburst of sleet-like hail and garbage and nonsense come through here. This is more the last remnants of the bad weather that's moving out as this high pressure is taking over. That's sitting on the contact. We did have a little bit of thunderstorm activity in the Kootenays on Wednesday, even some lightning strikes in the Vancouver area through Burnaby and Coquitlam for sure it looked like at one point. All in all, we see an improvement, except for up in Fort Nelson. There's fog advisory in effect up there right now. It's pretty persistent and thick, that fog. It would not be fun to be driving through there. So here's our low that's sitting off the coast right now. And you'd think it might want to be a story, but it can't. It really can't, because this big high is sitting in the way, and it's not going to really give it much space to take over. So it's going to force this guy to sort of sit here and mill around as it is. I mean, some strong showers on the front of it, not being able to find itself growing very deep. It's this guy that's in behind it that's going to start moving into the Aleutian Islands in the next couple of days. It's going to draw energy from this guy and this guy here. It's going to find itself and become a very, very powerful low up there in the Aleutian Islands, and it should be a weather maker for days to come, but we're not going to see any of those effects in BC really much until Sunday or later, depending where you are, of course. So as we start the new day, Hurricane Milton making its way through Florida right now, weakening, may still have the energy, though, to reform as a hurricane for a little while out there off the east coast of Florida. High pressure taking over a lot of the continent. We see this sort of weakened low going up into Labrador. A little bit of precipitation through maybe the St. John's region, that coast of Newfoundland. Very high pressure in Greenland right now. The Nunavut low. We've seen some pretty warm weather in Manitoba today, up to 27 degrees. I saw Justin from Weather Center in Manitoba say there's not been much for frost yet this year. He said generally it would be normal to see some frost even midway through September, so it's late on that. Maybe it's not the climate effect experience that you're having if you're in Florida, where you're having major hurricanes hit one after another there. However, it's still an effect, nonetheless, that we can see in the micro level. Some changes that are, unusual and seem to be becoming more and more the pattern. Here's our bigger storm up coming towards the Aleutians, and you're going to see it try to gobble this guy up in the next couple of days as this high pressure sits into BC and pretty much keeps most of the province, unless you're in those like really large mountains up by the Elias. But even they, as you come into Friday, seeing that high pressure as well. So eventually, in some warmer temperatures, even down in southern British Columbia, it's going to be nice for a couple of days. You're going to like this. However, that warmth is going to help feed, and this is pulling that weather up, don't forget, too. So this low is going to be cycling as it is. It's pulling warm air up into it, but it's also pulling cold air in the backside. So that's what's feeding this mid-latitude cyclone. Mid-latitude cyclone, remember that word. Those words, that's the common type of storm that we have out here. And you can see this large tail in behind, this atmospheric river, looks poised to start its hosing up into the Alaska Panhandle, maybe up to Juneau and areas like that. Some of those larger mountains will start taking it first. So already by Saturday, that's going to be sending a lot of fury in front of it. But again, a lot of BC just enjoying sort of the warmth that this high, which moves clockwise, is feeding warm air in, and this low is pulling it up because it feeds counterclockwise. And you can see all kinds of hell breaking loose just off the coast in Haida Gwaii. I'm sure we'll be the first place to get this, and they're going to get those southerlies slamming up into the island like they're so used to seeing when these kind of storms form. And eventually it's probably going to settle its hose sometime on Sunday, start hitting that mid coast. Maybe by then start to put its first precipitation inland more and more. Might see some snow in northern BC. Definitely the coast mountains taking lots of rain at that time. Be very warm in southern British Columbia. Wouldn't surprise me if we get some clashes. We'll see some lightning and some of that. And, these are the kind of storms at this time of year maybe produce a water spout or two somewhere off the coast as well, right? Because you got these convective storms going on out there. So things to watch for. It doesn't look like inland of BC immediately is going to be taking a lot of precipitation. No, I don't think so, really. Especially southern BC, still quite dry down there and still needing more and more. Again, half the weekend going to be pretty nice for sure. And depending where you are, the more south you are in BC and the more east you are, like you've seen the pattern be more or less the last bunch of times. So now we just zoom into BC to have a bit of a quicker look. And there, Thursday is that high really setting in. And again, unless you're in that very northern tip, some of those bigger mountains are Elias Mountains, things like that. I mean, these are huge mountains, the biggest mountains in all Canada up in that corner, basically in the Yukon, BC, Alaska. But you got days of nice weather. Very, very warm indeed, actually. You can see we got these isobars are showing. Those red lines there kind of give you the indication of where the freezing demarcation would be at nighttime. When we hit the coldest of the day, lowest temperature in the day, you see does not go below 0 in these areas, right? No matter what. So by Saturday, you start to see that hose is really hitting up into Juneau and Fairbanks and Skagway, all these places up there along the edge, the bigger cities, taking a good portion of rain. Big mountains taking heavy snow, heavy rain mix. We'll be kind of watching it pile on up there before it really starts to make its way down, of course. But of course, Haida has already been experiencing effects of this now. Starting on Saturday, the winds will start picking up. In comes the heavy blast of precipitation, move through. And then the fire hose gets pointed towards Rupert, slides down towards Bella Coola, work its way out, work its energy out as much as it can, but it's going to more or less by next Monday be really putting a lot of precipitation that northern Vancouver Island, up into Bella Coola regions, Bella, right? Haida still getting a fair bit of precipitation. Some of the mountains there taking big precipitation. Up north of Prince George, you're going to see maybe some periods of moisture and whatnot moving through, a little bit of rain and things at times. The further north you go, you're going to see more snow. And even in the coast mountains, going to see eventually will start playing its way out, and we'll send some showers south, but more or less by that point, things will be mostly cease to be cohesive, and then we just get these sort of scattered bands of precipitation moving through on Tuesday. That will maybe give some happiness to stretches between Golden and Revelstoke and up into the Alberta side, maybe even the Icefields Parkway taking a bunch of snow at that point. Wednesday start with a weakened low giving its last gasp. Already now we're into a week from now, so we're kind of coming to the limit of how far I want to guess and how accurate these models really are. I mean, these things all move around day by day. They make little changes and adjustments till we get it absolutely right. When you're talking 7 days out, it's really hard, but it's more or less midnight now. We do have zeros in Pemberton, Noss-Tatuco River, I guess. Occasionally I find somewhere new. Valemount below 0, here in Wells below 0. Yeah, it's actually 0.2 degrees Celsius right now, so just above 0. Just 0.2, though, not very much, right? You go down in the southern interior, kind of nice, 11s and 12s in Kelowna and Kamloops. Maybe it doesn't feel that nice there, but if you realize how the rest of the province is experiencing at nighttime, you'd say, hey, that's not so bad at all, is it? And more or less, winds are fairly calm right now, or very light through much of the province. Fairly nice evening as that precipitation we had here in Wells works its way out to McBride and places like that. High pressure sets in on Thursday by 1,500 hours, 15 degrees, maybe more. And, we see a night kind of much like tonight. But as you get into the weekend, you see some warmer temperatures sort of start to show up, especially in southern BC. Lethbridge and Medicine Hat getting quite nice, as they often do. Quick 16s in Kelowna, Trail, and Kamloops aren't out of the question on Friday, and I'm sure you'd enjoy that. This time of year, it's not too bad. Not extreme warm. Nothing bizarre about it, but it's nice. Nice and warm afternoons, and the nice high pressure you kind of expect to see as the sun's on you. The sun still has power, even though it's getting a little lower in the horizon. And that area that we see freezing at night gets a little smaller as you get into the weekend. You're going to get a little bit touch warmer coming through. And you can start to see it now really looking much better by Saturday. And here, happy Thanksgiving weekend. If you see 19s and 20s and 17s in Kamloops and 18s in Williams Lake and stuff like that, and even 14s in Prince George and Burns Lake, and even Fort John, you're sitting not too bad there at 12, and Fort Nelson about the same. It's not unless you're in Telegraph Creek that you get kind of the nastiest temperatures. And, maybe a little cooler in the big mountains, of course. That always looks a little bit cooler on a map. You're like, wow, there's a weird spot there. Yeah, there's really tall mountains there and blah, blah, blah. So anyways, as you come into Sunday, temperatures looking better and better. And we're seeing on Sunday a very nice day. Could even see 22s in Trails. Well, if there's 22, then maybe 25 isn't out of the question either, right? So, take the models with a grain of salt. Quite warm. If Williams Lake sees 20, well, maybe Quesnel does. Kamloops sees 20, maybe it'll see a little warmer. Maybe it'll see a couple degrees cooler. But something in this range, we're looking at something like this. That's going to be pretty nice weather. But this is about the time that we start to see that first band of rain start to really move through and pound in. So we're going to stop looking at temperature now so much. We'll keep an eye on it, but we're going to start looking at the fire hose move through and get more or less a big picture. That nice high pressure for all of you in the prairies through the weekend. So they're going to enjoy a prolonged, nice weekend for sure. And a lot of us in BC are going to have a pretty good Thanksgiving weekend. You know, again, especially if you're down in southeastern BC, you're going to see a fairly enjoyable situation, I think, because you won't get much of these effects from this weather. You're pretty far away from it. You're pretty shielded by lots of mountains. But Sunday evening, that's really pounding through. It's already sent its first wave past Haida Gwaii. It's moving down the coast, moving fairly quickly. So it is an atmospheric river, certainly, but it's not seeming to stall anywhere. So we'll see, you know, we'll see what it does. We'll see how much that stacks up. But we're looking, you know, if it keeps moving, that's a good thing. You know, that's kind of what we want the atmospheric river to do, is not spend any length of time too long in one place. And by Monday, you get larger snow amount up in the Yukon, Northwest Territories, towards the shore, bringing snow and rain up in that area, blah, blah, blah. Maybe even a little bit of unsettled weather even into the Caribou Monday evening as well, right? So we'll, you know, all in all, I'd say this is a pretty nice forecast, right? A lot of you are going to see really nice weather even on Monday. You're going to see some 21s and whatnot, and unless you're on the coast in Vancouver and maybe in some spots in the Caribou, or a little bit further north up towards, you know, maybe Mackenzie and Ware, and you maybe see some cloudy skies and things like that there. Sure, if you're in the southeastern corner of BC, you're the winners. You're the one who's going to win. So congratulations. We got the podcast Thursday night tonight. That's going to be right here in the channel, Joey Only Caribou Weather Dude YouTube channel. And that's going to have all the meteorologists and storm chasers. We're all going to be talking about Milton, I think mostly. I think we're going to have a really good debrief on everything that's going on. And maybe we'll talk about the Northern Lights show that we expect to see. I mean, there's going to be a really good flare. So nice weather, nice skies, clear skies. I wasn't so lucky last time we had Northern Lights show. It was crappy here. It was rainy in Wells. A lot of you did see a good show. I didn't get one. And it's looking pretty positive for lighting things up really good again tomorrow night and through the weekend. So enjoy it. Nice Thanksgiving weekend, some warm temperatures. And we got crappy weather up the coast, but, you know, that's always what happens at this time of year. Okay, well, that's the show for now. We'll talk to you next time. Bye now.